Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today, in celebration of National Read a New Book Month, I am joined by Thomas Wilson, a storyteller, writer, and advocate whose life and work prove the power of stories to transform lives. Growing up with neurodiversity and mental health struggles, Thomas found a refuge in poetry, novels, and music. That passion for storytelling carried him through bullying, systemic challenges, and personal hardship, and eventually gave him the confidence to lift others through words and imagination. Today, Thomas is a community leader, mentor, and sensory-friendly events specialist, helping people of all backgrounds connect through story-driven spaces, including in his innovative use of Dungeons and Dragons as a bridge for growth and belonging. His work has earned government recognition, international acclaim, and partnerships with more than 40 organizations. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Thomas, since it's National Read a New Book Month, I want to start here. What role did books and reading play in your life growing up?
Oh my gosh. So books and reading have been my best friends, my closest confidants, um my motivator, my advocates. I literally do not think I would be alive without them. I know as a young kid, I like to say I devoured books. I used to read so many from my local library that my mom had to put like a cap on them because I was just spending so much time reading. But at the same time, as someone with my own neurodiversity, with my own mental health struggles, it's where I found a lot of my connection to the world. It's where I found a lot of meaning and value in myself. But additionally, I've published a few books. I have shared stories on many stages, and to this day, I owe so much of my life to stories and storytelling and reading and books. And I may not read as much as I used to, but my goodness, does that not remove the value from that?
Yeah. You've shared that stories give you hope when you felt hostile, when the world felt hostile. Can you take us to one book or story that truly changed how you saw yourself?
Yeah. So it might not be a book a lot of people typically talk about. But the book by Dr. Seuss, All the Places You'll Go, has meant a great deal to me. When I was a kid, it wasn't the biggest story in my life by any means. If you don't know what it's about, it's literally about a person who travels throughout his world and his universe, essentially discovering all these unique places. And very true to Dr. Seuss, it's very hopeful, but it's also like very deep, and that it's the person's constantly seeking their journey. Um, at the same time, that book didn't really start popping up until I really started struggling with my own mental health diagnosis. And I use the word struggling because it has not always been an easy journey. It
Yeah.
has not always been one that I've loved, but to this day, I now like to use the word living with my mental health diagnosis from my current state, partly because of the journey that I've been on. I used to struggle, now I live with. But when I was a teenager, that book popped up. I had mentors who would ask me to read it because they believed that I was going to go off and do great things at a time when I really didn't believe that. And then right around the time I actually graduated high school, something many people said I wouldn't, uh, I had a school counselor who sent me a card months before that happened, and it was a card version of All the Places You'll Go. And I will never forget the note that she had in it, and she just said, she wrote, "See, sometimes hiccups lead to good things. And they're just temporary." And when I actually graduated from my school, my teachers got together and bought me that book. And they had a note in it from all of them. And they handed it to me and said, "We know you're going to do great things." And since then, that story continues to pop up, seemingly just by the nature of the universe or whatever people believe. Um, and it still continues to find me at very key points in my life. And it's a very small, thin book, but the impact it's had on my life has
Has
been
been profound.
immeasurable.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Many people they turn away from books, right? Because the quote unquote don't see themselves in those books. Did you face that? And how did you find representation or connection in the stories you love?
So I will say, I have had that happen, but I've always been drawn to great writers who discuss the mental health journey and pain and sorrow, especially as a young kid with depression. I really gravitated toward Edgar Allan Poe's work,
Yeah.
especially because I was able to see at a very young age. Like I heard The Raven at 4 years old, and it became my lifelong favorite story. Um, but I grew to Edgar Allan Poe because he was a writer, yes, long dead, that really talked about humanity and loss and grief and the mental health journey. And to me, his work is really some of the penultimate because he was writing at a time when that wasn't really represented very much in anything. If it was very much lock people away. But as a young kid, I would read his work and connect to the depression, the sorrow, the loss. But at the same time, there have been many books that I've been, oh my gosh, books, articles, storytellers, TV shows where I've been intensely frustrated because many stories that I found tend to demonize people with lived experience with mental health issues or mental health diagnosis, I should say. And that is very prevalent. I have learned a lot of writers throughout history and throughout even modern era will slap bipolar affective or anxiety on a character, and
Yeah.
that's the reason in their mind they're evil. I actually don't read a lot of true crime or detective books, mostly because that tends to be the summation of that identity is
Yeah.
health community is bad, therefore that's the argument. And so that was my frustration. That being said, I found a lot of different media that I've loved in that. And I think there are a lot of people, I'm not here to make fun of or to demonize like
Yeah.
writers of that genre. My advice would just be look beyond the scope. I mean, I love Batman. I love Batman as a character. I love him as a discussion on like wealth and things. But like even Batman has kind of historically demonized the mental health community and has caused a lot of not great conversations around like the Joker. It's wild to me that people still associate the Joker with mental health because he's not mentally ill. He's not living with that. There's like very strong themes in that. Anyways, I could go on a rant about that.
Yeah.
Just to say, I have also very much been a very stern an advocate of intentional storytelling because of those things.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
And a strong voice for pulling in the community you're writing about, or not even just not writing about something that you don't understand for the sake of simplicity.
Yeah. Well, how do you see reading and writing as a form of healing, especially for mental health struggles?
So as someone who's done a lot of writing on this exact topic, and storytelling, I, I think it is an art form born from human struggles, honestly. Um, when I look at Greek mythology or even like the Iliad or stories even older than that,
Yeah.
mental health is like a very prominent part of those stories. It's very much hidden in a lot of it, but it's very obvious like the writers of those great ancient stories understood that mental health was part of a destruction of the identity. And I don't think people knew, honestly. I would say great creative minds tend to, because we tend to be the ones going through that.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, it's an art form born from it, so it can help to treat it. I am also a big advocate for moving past the tortured artist fantasy that I see a lot still kind of perpetrated to this day
Yeah.
to this day. And I say that, I mean, you know, the artist who is down on their luck, they're barely paying rent, they're struggling to take their medications, they're miserable. And especially in the United States, the kind of very warped fascination with that
Yeah.
lifestyle. The reason I'm an advocate against that is not a healthy way for people to live at all. And I'm not saying give up art. I'm saying process your emotions in a healthy way. And I think when we do that, we also open up the opportunity. And why I'm saying this is because when we create avenues for artists to write about the healthier side or embrace their creativity in a way that's healthy, I think we get richer, stronger stories of mental health, because it's not just leaving someone at their downfall. It's telling stories about how all people can recover and get better. And I think that's missing. But I think writing in general, it causes healing because it is a removal of those things from the mind. It is kind of a release, and it is a capturing of those emotions and a sending of them out. They could be emotions, demons, whatever you want to call them. And so I think storytelling and writing, born from that, designed for that, moving that forward, I think it is one of the best ways to treat it, other than going to therapy. But it is also a beautiful connection to humanity. And so I highly encourage it, as long as it is intentional and empathetic and supportive.
Yeah. Well, for some, what would you say to someone who feels like reading is too difficult or intimidating? How can they start small and still experience the benefit?
Honestly, I would recommend somebody read like anime, not anime, manga or comic books. Um, I think that both of those genres kind of get a lot of flack, less than they used to sometimes. But I would say start with something smaller, something digestible, something where you have illustrations. I know the world kind of tends to make fun of people who want illustrations with their reading material, but that doesn't make sense to me. Like there is a reason art is a part of storytelling, and I think if you demonize someone for that, you're just creating more shame around it. So I would say
Yeah.
embrace stuff with our illustrations, even if it's for adults. I would say listen to audiobooks. I would say go and, you know, like, there are people who literally can't read words. So I would say, again, audiobooks are great if you can't hear at the same time. Braille is very good. Um, my advice really is seek what works for you, not necessarily what works for other people.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a lot of shame that can exist on that, but don't go to the communities that shame you for that. Go to the ones that support you and share your love of that.
Yeah.
Especially as a lifelong anime, manga, comic book fan, there is a real value to these art forms that teach us a lot. And we I think it's so important for us as a society to remove the pretense
Mm.
that certain art forms are inherently better because they are more challenging. That doesn't make sense to me. Um, I'm a big believer that all art should be accessible to people. And I know there's a lot of, like, again, that pretense. My art is good because it's complicated. But in my mind, that's my art is immediately not for people seeking it who are not within my very particular sphere
Yeah.
of what I'm comfortable with.
Well, you thank you for that recommendation. You work in your work in sensory friendly events is groundbreaking. How does reading or shared storytelling fit into that space for neurodiverse communities?
So I mean, at its core, it's making it accessible. I know that word really riles up certain people, and I'm not here to shame you if it does. But I think, people in that community, in this community, who are seeking that, it it is by making it accessible is creating an opportunity for voices, for new people to explore an art form, but it's also opening up community events that have been historically not for that community.
Yeah.
um I always like to say accessibility is not about making things more expensive. It's not about making things exclusive or demonizing or even like making things too simple. It's about making sure everybody can access something.
Yeah.
And when shared storytelling is used in that way, it creates a life altering connection to community. It creates a better understanding of story for many families. It's just having a space where they can bring their family member or people who on their own can access their community. And it's also creating a safe space for people. And I think no matter who we are, no matter what's going on in the world, I think most people want people to have that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when people look at the lens through, oh, this is bad because, we get so easily mad at people. And it's why I'm such a big advocate for calm, rational conversation, because that kind of accessibility is not well represented by people who are raging and are yelling. In the same mindset, it's not going to bring people in if you're yelling and screaming at people because they have a differing opinion.
Yeah. Well, you often mentor young people. How do you encourage them to fall in love with reading in a digital first world?
So I'm going to be honest, it's so much of it is bringing in community voices. Um, I really love shared storytelling because it is shared. And when it is utilized well, it is taking in differing opinions. It is implementing those opinions. It's jumping off of story threads between people. Yes, it can be silly and ridiculous and chaotic, but I think the people who are really good at working with that, especially if it's a big group, what I work with is constantly new people. It's not for everyone,
Yeah.
but if you have a close group of friends and you're just bouncing off each other, having fun, that's amazing. If you're doing what I do and I'm just constantly bringing in voices and working with that chaos, that's amazing. But what I try to do really is just bring people in, honor what they want, help them explore how to make that happen. And I can tell you, when you create that kind of back and forth, that genuine love, and it's hard. Like I recently had a couple groups where it was just hard to get going, and I'm not for everyone. But when you have that shared storytelling element, it creates passion, and creating and supporting and developing that passion is a
Yeah.
really good way to do that.
Yeah. And what advice would you give parents, teachers, or leaders who want to build a reading culture that welcomes neurodiverse individuals?
Um, so many things I could say. The first thing, and this is something I had to remind myself of literally today. I had some shifts in my work. I had a lot of chaos happen this week. And the first thing I would always say is give yourself patience. It's something I had to do for myself today. And in that, you can acknowledge you're not for everybody, right? Like, if someone doesn't succeed in your program, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it might not be a good fit. So if you're in a class and someone's not working well, it's okay to try something different or ask for help with that. If you're in a community program and it doesn't work, you got to be kind to yourself. But I would also say work really hard to make that happen. Like, work really hard to honor that person, honor who they are. I myself, I've had a few really rough months within work. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different mindsets on what works at a table, what doesn't. And the other thing I have to say in that is keep that communication flowing. Understand what happens, understand what doesn't. Because at the end of the day, not everything's gonna work. Not everything's gonna be easy. There's gonna be hard months. There's
Yeah.
gonna be hard years. And in that, I would say take care of yourself, honor your community, be willing to listen, and also adjust to what doesn't work. Um, Not every program or platform is going to work for you. Not every client base is going to work for you. Not every lesson plan is going to work with you. And yes, you will have people who will become hostile or will judge you or will be frustrated, but that's part of it. Is you got to know what boundaries you can apply even if you're making people mad, and you've got to give time to let go of that. It's so hard. I recently had to tell a group I couldn't do a game, and I feel so much guilt and shame, but I am working so hard to let go of that
Yeah.
and understand where my value is, understand where I can grow from that situation and continue to thrive on a new
Well,
pathway forward.
well, thank you, Thomas. If you could recommend just one book this month for listeners to pick up, which would it be and why?
I'm gonna recommend that All the Places You'll Go. And I'm going to recommend it in a unique way. When you read the book or if you pick it up, think about your life. And when you're done reading it, try to think of all the places you went recently and all the places you want to and will go to.
Yeah.
Because that book is not just about the good things, it's not just about the new places. That book really exemplifies the journey and the value of it, and that is why I'd recommend it.
What's the name of the book? You didn't mention the name of the book.
Oh, the All Your Places You'll Go.
Oh, that's the name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, I heard you like, okay, I was thinking you were recommending how to read a book. I went to recommend you think about all the places you go, and then when you read the book, you also think about all the places. And I was like, okay, that's an idea, or probably something we could try. I didn't know that you were talking about the book. Okay, the title of the book is All the Places You Will Go.
Yes.
Wow. Thanks for that recommendation. Looking ahead, what stories are you most excited to write or share with the world?
So I think the ones that I'm most excited to write, I have a few article ideas. I'm not gonna necessarily say what ones, but I
Yeah,
want to get more into writing just because I'm not saying what they are for the sake of not following through, just in case I do.
yeah.
But the stories that I'm really interested to tell, I'm really excited to share this journey with more and more people. I'm really excited to be able to tell more stories with my community. But I have some very exciting opportunities that are going to be coming up in the next few months here. And part of that excitement is getting to help other people tell their stories, which is a little bit of a hint, but I'm not going to go into all of it. And I'm really excited about that. I'm scared. Definitely afraid. And
Yeah.
I'm also just genuinely excited for the next year of stories and the next couple of years of stories.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that with us. And you've talked about so many things and you've touched on different concepts. Um, where can people learn more about you and what you do and connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can always, and I always realize how hard this is to understand until I read it. But my email, all my links, I'll make sure they're in the show notes. But my email is ndttrpg@gmail. Again, like I said, I'll make sure that's provided. You also see my Patreon where I work on tabletop stuff, some artwork and things, all designed to help people feel more relaxed, more connected to their stories. my website, RNH Creative Advocacy and Storytelling.net, is going to have some awesome stuff coming up on there.
Hmm.
My LinkedIn, I will make sure is on there. It's Thomas R. Wilson, RNH Creative Advocacy. And I'll make sure there's a couple more in there. I'm always open to questions and to explore conversations.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas. It's been an absolute delight to listen to you talk about reading and how book has helped you in your own journey of healing.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.